Take care of you. No, wrong move, Dave.
Don't come in here right now.
What's going on?
Nothing.
Whoa, guys. Oh, shit!
The story kicks off with a young woman named Noelle, a university student pursuing an MFA degree. One day, during an art class, a nude model is brought in for the students to sketch. As Noelle focuses on her work, her eyes occasionally drift toward Luke, a highly talented student who is admired by many, including her mother.
Lines and shading.
But every time their gazes meet, Noelle quickly looks away, feeling a bit awkward. After class, she meets up with her friend Sky, who is also her housemate. They share a home, but have separate rooms. Sky works on printmaking projects late into the night, while Noelle struggles to figure out what makes her own art distinctive. That night, Noelle hears laughter coming from outside. Curious, she looks out the window and spots Sky with a guy, lost in an intimate moment. Watching them, Noelle can't help but wonder when she'll experience something like that. She has never been in a relationship before. The following day in class, Noelle presents her painting.
In her mom's basement.
Her classmates study it carefully, trying to interpret its meaning. However, Professor Rudd critiques her work, pointing out its flaws and advising her to bring more creativity into her art to make it more striking.
For your thesis exhibition.
Feeling a bit discouraged, she later finds a quiet spot under a tree and begins sketching. Out of nowhere, Luke approaches her with a friendly smile and starts a conversation.
How are you?
Good.
He tells her he wants to be friends and invites her to a party he's hosting that night, mentioning that many of his friends will be there and she's welcome to join. Hesitant but excited, Noelle agrees. That evening, she puts effort into her appearance, dressing up for the party.
Hey, do you mind if I use your washer again?
When Sky sees her, she compliments Noelle and playfully asks if she has a thing for Luke. Noelle admits that Luke personally invited her,
There's this guy that I don't even know if he's into me.
making her wonder if he might like her. Sky, thrilled by the possibility, decides to get ready too and urges Noelle not to forget to dance with him at the party. Upon arriving at the party, Noelle is greeted by a crowd of people. Luke spots her immediately and walks over chat. After a while, he asks her to come upstairs, saying he wants to show her some of his sketches. Trusting him, she follows.
To approach like a non-painting.
Once in his room, Luke initially shares his artwork, but suddenly his demeanor shifts. He leans in and starts kissing her. At first, she goes along with it, but when things escalate, she tries to push him away. Luke refuses to stop. He forces himself on her despite her protests, leaving her terrified and powerless. After violating her, he coldly informs her that he has no intention of being in a relationship with her.
Let me get yourself.
Shattered and traumatized, Noelle stumbles back home, her body aching, her mind numb with shock. Her friends, including Kennedy, sense that something is terribly wrong and try to comfort her, but she locks herself in her room, unable to speak. Overwhelmed with despair, she finds herself by the swimming pool, contemplating whether to end it all. But at the last second, fear grips her, and she pulls herself away, realizing that giving up isn't the answer. That night, she lies in bed, struggling to process the horror of what happened. The next day, she can't bring herself to attend classes. Later, she confides in a friend who, after hearing her story, warns her against speaking up.
You know you can talk to me.
According to her, reporting the incident would only bring shame upon Noelle instead of justice. Every time she sees Luke in class, a wave of dread washes over her. Desperate for help, she decides to approach the college psychiatrist, hoping to find support.
Something I can do, like a rape kit.
Instead, she is met with cold indifference. The psychiatrist questions her insistently, asking if she had made it explicitly clear that she wanted Luke to stop. Noelle assures her that she had, but Luke hadn't listened.
No one was in the room.
To her horror, the psychiatrist dismisses her claims, saying there's no proof. Anger and frustration boil inside her as she realizes she won't get the help she needs there. Furious, she storms out, Determined to confront Luke, she reaches out to him, asking to meet at his house. When he arrives, she demands an apology for what he did to her.
I want you to say you're sorry.
But Luke remains dismissive, callously stating that she had wanted it and had never explicitly refused. Shocked and disgusted, she asks how he can pretend nothing happened, but he refuses to engage, telling her to leave.
You were into it? You liked it?
As tensions rise, their argument turns physical. In the heat of the moment, Luke loses his footing on the stairs and falls, hitting the ground hard. He dies instantly.
Crazy!
A wave of panic grips Noelle. Despite everything Luke had done to her, she never intended for this to happen. Overcome with fear, she flees, keeping the terrible truth to herself. The next day, the police arrive at Luke's house to investigate. Initially, it seems they believe it was an accident, but soon they begin questioning people, including Noelle. An officer asks if anyone had messaged Luke before his death. Unable to sleep, Noelle starts researching cases of sexual violence on campus. She stumbles upon an old case about a girl named Lance, who had been assaulted by 3 men. A video of the attack had spread online, yet when she reported it, the police dismissed her case, claiming the perpetrators' faces weren't clearly visible. Noelle digs deeper and finds an audio recording related to the case. She listens, and what she hears sends chills down her spine. The next day, she seeks out Lance, desperate for answers. At first, Lance is reluctant to talk, insisting that digging into the past will do no good.
I'm sorry to just show up like this.
She advises Noelle to take a break and let things go. But sensing her fear, Noelle convinces her to meet for coffee. Eventually, Lance opens up. She reveals that she had trusted the 3 men who attacked her.
I was gonna be the one on trial. How many people?
They had always flirted with her, but she assumed it was harmless. One day, they invited her to a party at their house, and that's when everything changed. They turned on her, violating her in the worst way possible.
You know, I might not be able to have babies.
She reported the crime to the college administration, but no action was taken. The police eventually stepped in, but instead of arresting the guys, they let them walk free due to lack of evidence. Instead of facing any consequences, the 3 of them were sent to another city, Aura, where they carried on with their lives like nothing had happened. Hearing this, Noelle felt even more lost. With Luke's death weighing on her mind, she had no idea what her next move should be. Feeling a deep sense of injustice, Noelle started attending an art therapy group. The girls there shared horrifying stories of their own experiences with abuse. The pain in their voices shook her to the core. As the leader of the group, she encouraged them to stay strong, but deep down, she knew the reality. They were always told to fight back, but in the end, their abusers never faced real punishment. One girl even pointed out that even when predators were sent to prison, they somehow always found a way out. The leader reassured them, saying that justice would come in time, but Noelle wasn't interested in waiting. She didn't believe in karma. She wanted revenge now. One evening, she made up her mind. She attended a party at the house of one of the guys who had wronged her. Playing along, she acted flirtatious and lured him in. When things started heating up, she sneakily slipped poison into his drink. He was suspicious and made her take a sip first, but she only laughed, knowing she had planned ahead. Moments later, he collapsed and died. For the first time in a long time, she felt at peace. She rushed home, feeling lighter than she had in ages. The next morning, news broke about the boy's death, but when the autopsy revealed alcohol poisoning, no one suspected foul play. Feeling accomplished, Noelle channeled her emotions into painting, and for the first time, her work was praised by her professor. She was even encouraged to prepare for an upcoming exhibition. But her revenge wasn't over yet. Her next target was another one of the men. She tracked him down and followed him home. When he went to take a shower, she took the opportunity to strike, using a belt to end his life. The next day, his body was discovered by a friend, who was left in shock, wondering who could be behind these mysterious deaths. Noelle's third and final target was even trickier. She followed him as he jogged through a running track late at night. Once he entered a restroom, she went in after him, this time armed with a hammer. He fought back, but she was relentless. She struck again and again until he stopped moving. Without wasting a second, she fled the scene, blending back into the shadows. The police started investigating the sudden deaths, but when they questioned Noelle's friends, no one gave them any leads. After all, No one had helped them when they had suffered, so why should they cooperate now? A detective began piecing things together, but the group of girls remained silent, relieved that the men who had tormented them were finally gone. One evening, Noelle invited 2 friends over for pizza and painting. They had fun until one of the boys, Neil, leaned in and kissed her. The moment their lips touched, her past trauma flooded her mind. Panicking, she pushed him away and ran out, breathless and trembling. Desperate for comfort, she went to Sky's room, only to find her friend in the bathroom, harming herself. Horrified, Noelle rushed in, bandaged Sky's wounds, and demanded to know why she was doing this. Sky finally broke down, confessing that she had been a victim too. The pain of her past haunted her, making her feel like there was no escape. Determined to uncover the truth, Noelle began digging into Sky's past. She searched through old university records and found the name of a man named Kelvin, the one who had hurt Sky but had managed to avoid any charges. Posing as a psychology student conducting research, she tricked a staff member into giving her access to the college archives. There, she found Sky's old file. As she flipped through the pages, she was horrified to see images of Sky, bruised and battered, revealing the extent of what she had endured. Later, she discovered that many girls had reported a particular man, but the university had covered it up to protect its reputation. Filled with rage, Noelle decided it was time for her final act of vengeance. She confronted Kelvin, demanding to know why he had done those horrible things. He insisted that he had changed, that he now had a family, and that he deeply regretted his past. But for Noelle, that wasn't enough. Without warning, she stabbed him in his own garden before running away. He was rushed to the hospital, fighting for his life. That night, Noelle returned home with blood-stained clothes. She quickly changed and hid the evidence, making sure Sky didn't notice anything. But the next morning, while heading to class, Sky was approached by an inspector who informed her about Kelvin's attack. She acted surprised but ran home immediately. Searching Noelle's room, she found the bloodied clothes and realized the truth. Noelle was responsible. Sky confronted her, holding up an old picture from a police report, demanding an explanation. Noelle admitted everything. She believed Kelvin deserved punishment, and even though she had tried to move on, the memories wouldn't let her. Sky warned her that the police would eventually catch up and insisted that she would expose Noelle's crimes. The next day, tragedy struck. Noelle found Sky lifeless in the bathroom. A note lay beside her body, confessing that she had been trying to cleanse the university of its predators. Devastated, Noelle called the authorities, but when they arrived, she pretended not to know anything. Days later, Noelle attended an art exhibition where her work was widely praised. But as she stood in the bathroom, she pulled out Sky's note and burned it, determined to protect her reputation. Soon after, graduation day arrived. Noelle was announced as the top student and gave a speech about the true meaning of art. However, things took a turn when Calvin, now recovered, recognized her and informed the detective. Realizing that she was finally caught, Noelle made the decision to turn herself in, ending her journey. This story sheds light on the dark reality of injustice, where victims are left to suffer while criminals walk free. It highlights the deep scars left by trauma and the lengths some people will go to for justice.